back to Saturday morning. Today I have a special treat for you. We had one subscriber that was going to send me some pictures, but I didn't get those pictures, so I can't submit that one yet, but hopefully she will get that done this week. But someone else came into the shop, Sandy Guin, here in town, and she is an incredible quilter. Let me explain what she did. She took her, I think she said it was her great-grandmother's quilt, and it had some spots on it, and you could fold it and look at it and it'd be pretty, but you couldn't really touch it because it had some spots on it. And it was just one of those things that you just put aside and look at it and it's pretty. While those are great, Sandy decided that she didn't want it to be that. She wanted it to be something that she could use and cherish. So she turned it into something she could use and cherish. It is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I kept telling her, she was shopping around the shop, and she said, can I just set it here on the corner of the cutting table? And I said, sure. And you can leave it there too. If you want to leave without it, by all means, leave without it. I'm fine with you leaving it here. She made a jacket out of the quilt, and you've seen people do that, and they're all gorgeous. I don't think I've seen an ugly one yet. But wait till you get a look at this one. It is beautiful. And she had some extra pieces left over from the quilt. So she said she was thinking about what to do with them, and maybe a pillow. And I threw out the idea of stockings too, Christmas stockings. So depending on how much she has, we're not sure what she'll do, but I'm hoping and praying she brings it by so that we can see what else she's done. Anything Sandy brings by the shop is absolutely breathtaking. There is nothing that the woman makes that is not absolutely gorgeous. But look at the jacket. Did I not tell you that was beautiful? That was gorgeous. Every word you can think of. Gorgeous, beautiful, breathtaking. Just, I can't even come up with other words. I loved it. So she will get to cherish that forever. And, well, I'm proud of her work. She did a great job. But now we're going to move on to what we need to do today. What I'm going to show you today is just a little bit different. I've got a quilt made and I need to bind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round the corners of it. Binding is the same as it always is, but I want to show you how to round the corners. So let's go look at that. So this is the quilt I've got. This is the backing of it, just a fun little scrappy quilt. And it's got the regular corners, like all the other quilt corners, but I want to make it a rounded corner. So I've got this ruler, and it's called the boxed bag template. See this rounded corner right here? That's what I'm going to use. You could use lots of different things. You could use a plate from your kitchen and put it here. Anything round you can put there. But I'm going to use this, one, because I have it, and two, because I know all of my angles are going to be exactly the same. If I used a plate, it should be the same too, but this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to line it up to that corner. And you can take a marking pen and mark it right here and then cut it with scissors, or you can just cut it with your rotary cutter, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to follow that box bag template. I'm going to cut this corner off, and then I've got my rounded corner. So I'm going to do that for every side. It just gives it a little different look. And I like the rounded corners. I like the scalloped corner edges. I like the rounded corners. So this is how I'm doing this one. And I'm going to cut the binding, and I'm going to bind it the same way I always do, and just go a little slower around the corner so that I can make sure it's perfect when I get around the corners and not gathered or messed up in the corners. So I'm going to do this one the same way. It's very easy to do this, and it adds just a little different look to the quilt. To me, it makes it look more difficult than it is, but making it is super easy. So here's all my scraps. I'll throw those away, believe it or not. Everybody says I don't throw anything away. See, I just did. But now I've got all my rounded corners. So all I have to do is adhere my binding like I normally do. If you don't know how I do my binding, then look in my binding videos. I've got multiples of those out there. And all you'll do is come around this corner and you'll just go slower around this corner. Add that binding, and keep going until you're done. My extra fabric like this is at the shop. I thought it was here. It's at the shop. So I'm going to run to the shop. I'll show you how to do this so that there are no questions, and then we'll come back. So I've got my binding made. I've got it pinned onto the side of my quilt, and I'm gonna go down, I'm not measuring exactly, but I'm just gonna go down about 6 to 8 inches, and then I'm gonna start. I want that loose piece at the end so that when I do get to the end of the other side, I can join those two together. So I'm going to take my binding and just stitch it along the side at 1/4 inch. Keep going, and as I get to this corner, I'm going to turn this binding along that corner, and I'm just going to go slower and turn this quilt as I get there. Do a little piece, make sure it's still lined up, turn it a little bit, do it again. Do that all the way through this curve. You just take it slow until you get to that straight edge again. When you get to that straight edge, it's free sailing all the way to the other side. You're just going to do what you always do, straight 1/4 inch seam. So when I get all this put on, I'll show you how I flip it to the other side. But this is just going to be the same way I did that one corner, slow, and stitch a little bit, turn it, stitch a little bit, turn it, and just follow that edge. So I'll meet you back where we started in just a minute. I'm at the point now where I'm at the end, and I've got my binding all hanging down here with all the extra that I didn't need. So I'm going to take this piece where I started right here. Let me see where you can see it better. Here's where I started, and here's what's hanging over. And what I want is I want these two pieces to overlap by 2.5 inches. So I'm going to just cut it a little longer than I need it really to get this excess out of my way. Then I've taken a piece that I've cut just a sliver off the end. We know the width of this is 2.5 inches, and that's what I want without having to measure. So I'm going to lay it there because I know that's 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to hold it over that piece, and wherever it ends, which is right there, I'm going to clip this extra off. So now I can throw this away, and I know that this piece and this piece, the beginning and the end, overlap by 2.5 inches. And that's what I want because that's how wide my binding is. Then I'm going to take them right sides together and join them just like we did the other strips of binding, and sew that diagonal seam across them to connect them. Then I will cut this excess outside of that seam that I just sewed, and now it fits perfect. So now I'll just stitch this down, and then come back and we'll flip it over. Now that we've got it stitched on the back, we need to flip it to the front. So we are going to pick an area and just put it on there. Fold it to the front. You don't want to pull it, you just want to fold it to the front. And then start stitching it down. When we get towards the corner, I will show you what we do. Actually, let me change the angle so you can see it a little better. Maybe you can see it better here. Then we're going to keep stitching like we were stitching a second ago. When we get to the corner, we'll just take it slow again and stitch around that edge. So we're at the corner. We're going to pull it up just like we do the other straight corners. And we're just going to turn this quilt ever so slightly as we go around this corner. It's not a very sharp corner, so it's an easier one to do. But we're just going to kind of turn it as we go. Do a little bit, bring it to the front, hold it down, stitch, pause, do it again, pull it up, hold it down, stitch, turn it as you go, and just keep going until you get to that straight edge, and then you're going straight again, just like normal. Now let me pull it out and show you what it looks like. Cut that thread. And now that corner is binded. We're going to keep going until we get all 4 corners done. And it's the same method all the way around it. So we're now finished with the quilt. I wanted to show you what it looked like in total so you can see the whole thing. All the rounded corners are done, and it's just gives it just a little bit different of a look, and it's a simple project to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from it. And if you have any questions, like always, we're here to answer them for you, help you along the way. If you need anything like the boxed cutter template that we used, we have these here in the shop. Anything you see us use in the video, we have in the shop. So if you need it, holler, we can get it to you. We can email it. I mean, you can email us, you can get on the website, whatever. But we're here to help you and hope it makes your quilting journey easier along the way. So just another take on a quilt tweak, just to make it a little different. Here's our corners. We love it. And now on to another project. You guys have a great weekend, great rest of your next week, and so forth. And until next time, happy quilting.